In this video, I'm sharing something to understand about manifesting that can help make it easier. And to put it simply, this is about understanding that your manifestation is already done. It has already been figured out. It's already ready for you to receive. And I'm going to start out by sharing a couple of personal examples that have helped me to come to understand and really believe in this. But first, if you're new to my channel, then welcome. My name is Adrienne Decotes. I'm a manifesting coach and intuitive guide, and on my channel, we talk about getting into the flow and manifesting with ease. So if that is something you're interested in, I invite you to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you'll be the first to know when I publish new videos. So like I said, the thing that I think really helps to make manifesting easier is really taking it in and letting it sink in that whatever we clearly know what we want is already done. It is already ready for us to receive. And one of the experiences that really helped me to understand this was manifesting my dream home and my dream romantic relationship, which actually happened to come in like in the same kind of manifestation. So I'll briefly share this story. I've shared it in at least one other video before, but it's a really good example. So one of the places where this story begins was kind of a few years before I manifested my dream place when I was riding on the Max, which is this train line that we have here in Portland. And I was riding it over the Willamette River, over the river of downtown. And I was just kind of like daydreaming a little bit, just kind of looking out the window. And I saw these condos that were lined along the river, and for as long as I can remember, it's always been my dream to live just like right on the water. And up till that point, it had never happened before. And when I saw those condos, they were like red and white and tan, kind of like organized along the river. They looked really cute. They looked really interesting. And I was like, wow, if I could live anywhere in the city at all, I would want to live there. And I just kind of had that thought. I just kind of got that clarity for myself and didn't really think about it too much for the next couple of years or so. I just kind of had it in the back of my mind that that was the place that I would want to live if I could live anywhere. And the reason why I didn't really take action on that was that I assumed that these condos that were downtown right on the river were probably way out of my price range and probably something that I wasn't going to be able to afford to rent or purchase or whatever anytime soon. So I didn't really feel like inspired to take action on it right away. So that is one part of it. And then the other part of the story where this begins is that I had gone through a couple of really challenging breakups kind of back to back with similar kind of men and like similar kind of challenges in the relationship. And so as a result of that, I decided that it was time to really get focused and kind of break this pattern of what I had been manifesting in romantic relationships and manifest something that was more like what I truly wanted now at this point. And so I wrote out this story and called it my Sexy Awesome Man Vortex. And that was basically like me writing out all the qualities and characteristics of how I wanted men to manifest in my reality, kind of the qualities that they have and how they treated me and the kind of the experiences that I had in relationships. And so I made that story and it was very like aligning for me and similar to what I experienced with the condo, with like the condos by the river, where it just kind of clicked for me, like this clarity about, yeah, that's exactly what I want. If I could live anywhere, I would want to live there. It was a similar kind of feeling with writing this story where it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want to have those kind of experiences with men instead of like the experiences that I had been having in the recent past. And so I made this story and I decided to really own that story was going to be my new reality and kind of decide like, yeah, that feels so good. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to create. And yeah, it was a really powerful alignment for me in this case, and kind of sticking with that decision resulted in a pretty fast manifestation. It was within about a week and a half of when I wrote out that story that I ended up manifesting this person into my reality. And but the other thing that happened with the person that manifested is that he was living in one of those condos on the river. And I mean, that was like, so the person, I told this in a previous video, like the person that manifested was my friend, Nick. And so I knew he was living in those condos for a while, but it was like, I was so used to seeing him as just my friend, and I had never actually been over to his place while we were friends. Anyway, he had been living there for maybe like a few months or up to a year. At the time that our relationship kind of changed from just friends to something more. But yeah, that was just the way that all this kind of came together. And so that's like kind of a little bit of the shorter version of the story. There's like interesting details of how we ended up, kind of like the universe showed me that Nick was meant to be more than just a friend in my life. Like he was meant to be the match for this story of what I had created, of what I really wanted in romantic relationships. Yeah, but that's basically the story of how, those are the key details of how this double manifestation kind of came to be. And, you know, it was double manifestation because about 6 months after Nick and I started our romantic relationship, I ended up moving into that condo on the river, which was the one that I had identified a few years ago that I had wanted, and turned out that I could afford it. It turned out that it wasn't like outrageously expensive. We started with just, he had been living in there renting one with a housemate, and that housemate had to move back to like where he was from, back in California. And around the same time, my housemates in the place where I was living decided to leave also. And so it just kind of naturally fit that I moved in there with Nick. And then about a year and a half after that, we ended up buying one of those condos of our own. And so, yeah, in the span of time of a few years, I had gone from just kind of looking at these condos and thinking like, oh, that would be so cool, but probably not anytime soon would that happen, to owning one. So anyway, those are the key details of the story. And then now let's take a look at a few of the takeaways. So like I said at the beginning of this video, I think the key thing to understand about manifesting that helps kind of make bigger dreams feel more believable, or true heart's desires feel more attainable, is to understand that if you receive a clear idea about what you want, and I say receive because I think that like true heart's desire intentions can be something that are inspired from our higher selves, from source energy, from like the divine part of us, whatever you want to call it. And like if you manifest or receive that clarity about what you want, then that's an indication that it's already figured out, it's already worked out. And this kind of goes back to the principle of the vortex that Abraham talks about, where it's like whenever you have a desire or a preference, whether you articulate it or not, the universe hears what you're asking for all day long, and kind of your inner being, that source energy part of you, focuses on it. And all of those desires and preferences are kind of like swirling around together in this vortex. Is kind of like the metaphor for it, but basically it's like the things that would truly satisfy and delight and please you are known by the universe, by source energy, and are focused on by your inner being, by your higher self, by source energy. And like Abraham says, these cooperative components are attracted to the desires, like the things that are necessary to fulfill them are being attracted and being gathered. And so like in my specific example, I can think about, okay, I didn't really like analyze or think or try to figure out where I most wanted to live in Portland. It just kind of landed in my brain, just the idea of being on the river, a desire that I'd had for a long time, or on the water rather. And like this place just kind of landed in my head because it was a place that had already been kind of identified by my inner being, by source as a good potential place for me to fulfill this desire of living by the water. And then in a similar way, my friend Nick, he had been in my reality for like 6 years before we became a couple. And so like he was also a cooperative component that the universe had gathered to me of like, this is a potential person that you can have this great romantic relationship experience with, of like what you're truly looking for. And when I was in the place where I could receive that clear idea of what I really wanted, then kind of align with it and allow myself to manifest it, I was able to then kind of realize what the universe had already kind of figured out on my behalf of this person that could easily come in and help me experience what I had wanted. And so those are just some of the experiences that I think back on to help me kind of have a tangible like sense of proof or sense of like example of kind of this concept that I know Abraham talks about, and potentially other manifesting teachers as well, that, you know, whatever you ask for is given. You know, ask and it is given. That's the name of one of their famous books. Or like, you know, what we want is already done. It's already figured out. And so that's really important. That's really helpful because that helps us kind of to realize that if we have a clear, strong, true heart's desire that comes to us and that we feel really aligned with, then yeah, it's meant to be. It's meant for us to have it. And even like the details of it are already worked out too. And so it's not a matter of trying to figure out how to create this thing that we want or to try to effort or like struggle to attain it. It's just about doing the basic manifesting work of aligning ourselves with it energetically and then letting that means for it to come about that's already been figured out, that's already been, you know, that's already understood at this higher level to be realized by us. So one of the things I've been reminding myself lately about this, and this is kind of a quote that I heard from an Abraham recording from, I don't know, maybe a few years ago or something, is let the superior thinker think. And so I remind myself about this when my kind of analytical mind starts getting in the way and starts doubting what I really want, or starts kind of trying to figure it out and then like figure out how it could happen. And then kind of, I get kind of tense or kind of like, oh, I don't know, would that work out or whatever it is. Just to remember that, you know, when it comes to manifesting big dreams or manifesting things for which we don't have an obvious path, or like it's not a very obvious next logical step for us, we don't want to let ourselves be the ones who are trying to figure it out and kind of think about it too much. We want to let the higher intelligence of the universe, of like our higher selves and source energy and the law of attraction, the vortex, however you want to think about it, to do the thinking. And we just want to get ourselves into the vibration where we can receive that superior thinking, you could put it, because it was like, yeah, I received some of that thinking in just identifying what my true desires were. And then the path to kind of manifesting those too was being able to be open to inspiration. One of the things that was kind of funny along the way to manifesting Nick was we, you know, maybe a week or so before our relationship started, we were having lunch together just as friends, and he had actually recently gone through kind of a challenging breakup as well. And this was maybe a few days after I had written my Sexy Awesome Man Vortex manifestation story, and I was feeling really excited about it, really pumped about it. And I was trying to cheer him up because I could see he was still feeling pretty down about this recent breakup. And so I was telling him all about my Sexy Awesome Man Vortex story. And then I said to him, I was like, yeah, and look, I'm getting to have lunch with you, and you're a sexy, awesome man, you know, here having lunch with me. And I didn't realize it at the time, but he took that, like I was just trying to kind of cheer him up and kind of like pump him back up to get out there and manifest like a new relationship of his own by telling him kind of what I was doing and how I was already kind of seeing little signs and winks from the universe. He took that to be me flirting with him, which is understandable, but it wasn't actually my intention. But it's like me just kind of being in alignment and being in the flow and following inspiration was kind of causing me to kind of play into what the universe was trying to set up, because I had no idea and would never have thought that Nick was going to be the person that manifested as my romantic partner. Never would have guessed that. But that was kind of what I was being guided along towards, and by following inspiration, by just like sharing my enthusiasm with him, it was kind of planting that seed that then helped him to later kind of like, yeah, start to instigate this relationship with me. And so, yeah, those are just a few of my thoughts on this topic. It's kind of a big topic of how our desires actually manifest, but I think, just like, to put it simply, if we can just remember that these details are worked out, we can let the superior thinker think, get ourselves into the place where we can receive that inspiration and that clarity, and less trying to figure it out and more just getting to the place where we can receive, then we're going to be able to let our manifestations happen more easily, more quickly, and more enjoyably. So I would love to know if you have any cool stories or kind of insights on this topic. What's your opinion? Do you think that the universe, that our higher selves, that source kind of already has it all figured out? It's just up to us to kind of receive, or should we be in there kind of working out the details on our own? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, or if you have any cool stories of manifestation. I always love reading your examples or your stories, so definitely share any of that in the comments below this video. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more manifesting tips and tricks and inspiration from me, I definitely recommend downloading my free guide to the 7 Habits of Highly Magical People. As always, I've got a link to this free guide in the description box below this video, so you can download a free copy if you are interested. If you liked this video, I definitely recommend checking out this next video all about how to stop feeling impatient about manifestation. It's got some good tips on how to chill out and let the manifestation work itself out. So thanks again for joining me today. Until next time, happy manifesting.